Hey everyone, welcome back to Audubon PA Flying High Learning Series. My name is Bria Wimberly. I am Audubon's environmental educator here in PA, and today we're going to be talking about the Delaware River Watershed and the birds that live within the watershed as well. Now, in our previous Flying High presentation, we discussed some important facts about the watershed. So before we get into the birds, let's first review these key facts of what a watershed is and why a watershed is so important for us humans and for the wildlife. Let's get started.
As we learned previously, a watershed is the area of land that feeds water from rain and melting snow into a particular lake, stream, or river. That means that whenever water accumulates on the ground, the water will eventually drain into lakes, streams, and rivers, in the same way that water poured onto the ground runs into puddles or gutters. So why is it important for us to understand what a watershed is?
Well, the answer to that question is pretty simple. People need water to drink, to cook with, to clean, to bathe, to give water to their pets or to their plants. And most of that water comes from your local streams, rivers, and reservoirs. The water is pumped up into a water treatment plant where it is cleaned and processed for all of us to enjoy.
But many different kinds of birds and other types of animals also need water to drink, bathe in, obtain food from, live in, etc. And the water they need also comes from local lakes, reservoirs, streams, wetlands, and rivers. So when trash, chemicals, and other types of pollution from the city neighborhoods, city streets, highways, and other areas people live in and work in gets into our waterways, it makes it harder for both people and animals to get the clean, healthy water we need to exist. Here in the northeastern United States, there are many watersheds, but one of the most important watersheds is the Delaware River Watershed. One reason why it's so important is because of the drinking water it provides to over 13.3 million people. That means if you live in parts of southeast New York, eastern Pennsylvania, western New Jersey, or eastern Delaware, you live within the Delaware River Watershed, and your drinking water probably comes originally from local streams, rivers, and reservoirs within the watershed. In addition to lakes, rivers, streams, and other bodies of water, the watershed also contains many areas of natural habitat composed of forests, wetlands, farms, meadows, and even beaches. And all of these habitats are important because they provide places for many different types of plants and animals to live, including 400 different species of birds.
Now, since we don't have time to talk about all the species of birds, we're just going to focus on 5 species of birds that occupy the most important habitats in the watershed.
In the northern part of the watershed, which includes southeastern New York, northeastern Pennsylvania, and northwestern New Jersey, there are many large areas of forest where many species of songbirds make their nests and raise their young during the summer. One songbird that can be found in these forests is the black-throated blue warbler, a small songbird the size of a ping pong ball that eats insects and builds its nest in dense clumps of shrubs near the ground. While males are black, white, and bluish-gray in color, females are usually olive gray and tan in color. The black-throated blue warbler only occur in the watershed during the warmer months. They then migrate to spend the winter mainly in the West Indies and parts of Central America. The black-throated blue warbler is just one of over 35 species of warblers that occur in the watershed. Another one that is bluish in color is the cerulean warbler, a species that also breeds in the northern part of the watershed, but the cerulean warbler builds its nest high up in the trees, where it also hunts for small insects. Unfortunately, the cerulean warbler is becoming rare, So it's very important that the forest habitat it needs to reproduce is protected from destruction. Now, a very different kind of warbler that occurs in the watershed's forest is the Louisiana water thrush. It's different because it walks on the ground where it hunts for small insects and invertebrates along small streams or in swamps. And one of the most colorful warblers in the watershed is the golden-winged warbler, a species that builds its nest in small plants near the ground, but only in clearings that occur within forests. Like the cerulean warbler, the golden-winged warbler has also become less numerous than it once was, and it is important that we protect the forest habitat it uses, as well to prevent this beautiful bird from disappearing. Like the black-throated blue warbler, the other warblers we just discussed also migrate to spend the winter in other areas. The Louisiana water thrush travels to the West Indies, while the golden-winged warbler travels to Central America, and the cerulean warbler travels all the way to South America. Although forests are very important to warblers, they are also important to many other kinds of birds in the watershed. One of the most familiar forest birds in the watershed is the wood thrush. The wood thrush occurs in forests throughout the watershed where it builds its nest in small shrubs near the ground. And the wood thrush also has one of the most beautiful songs of any birds in the watershed. Anyone who lives in the watershed can probably hear this bird's beautiful song in local forests throughout the summer months. After they complete raising their young, wood thrush migrate to spend the winter in Central America.
All right, so today we talked about some of the birds that live in the Delaware River watershed. Now, of course, there are many other species of birds that live in the watershed, and they all need a certain number of things to survive, including clean water. So here are some things that us as humans can do to provide help for the millions of birds that live here in the watershed.
You can plant native plants because native plants help produce more insects, and there are many species of birds that need insects to survive. You can cover large windows that birds might fly into with tape, stickers, or other materials that you can buy commercially to prevent birds from flying into windows and killing themselves. You can avoid using dangerous chemicals like salt, pesticides, and herbicides, and don't place chemicals or trash down stormwater drains because these chemicals can accumulate in waterways and harm plants and animals as well as people. You can keep your cat indoor or in an indoor setting because roaming cats kill millions of birds in the US each year. And lastly, you can call, email, or write a letter to your local elected leaders to protect our native habitats and support a healthy watershed for everyone.
Thanks for joining me in this episode in our Flying High Learning series. I hope you learned something new today. If you have missed our previous episodes, be sure to check those out. Stay safe, and I hope to see you in our next episode.